This is the RYK Modular Night Rider. Hold on. Take two. This is the RYK Modular Night Rider, a really cool and unique filter module that I'm really pumped to talk about and show. I recently stopped doing a lot of review videos, unless it's something that I just find extremely interesting and something that I enjoy and genuinely want to use. This is one of those modules, and I'm really excited to share it. I paid for this myself. I wasn't given this module or asked to make a video. It's just a review on something that I think is really cool and unique. So I'm gonna break down how the module works, go through some of the settings, we'll play some examples, and see how things can be affected here. To start off, let's just disconnect everything so we can see the module and what it actually looks like. This is it right here. These are your 4 filters, and they run in parallel, and all of the filters except the all pass, which runs in series. So what that means is whatever is coming into your input is going to send the signal through each filter individually and then send it to the output. Whereas the all pass filter will send into the input, it'll go through the first filter to the end, then to the next filter, then to the third, then to the fourth, and then to the output. So basically, the other filters will affect the sound after the previous filter. It is a stereo module, meaning you can run 2 inputs, a stereo input into the 1 and 2, and they do include this stereo splitter, and then you can run stereo out 1 and 2. You can also use it with just mono. If you are running it in stereo, the first 2 filters, 1 and 2, will be for channel 1, and the second filters, 3 and 4, will be for channel 2. So let's just look at a basic overview of the module. These 4 bars right here with the LEDs is each filter. So you have 4 knobs up top, and each of the knobs controls the frequency of that filter. Below that you have some green dots, and there's 6 of them, and this is the step sequencer to step through the different modulation parameters of the sequencer that controls the filters. So if I go to the next one, you'll see it changes through the filters. And speaking of, these buttons here are multifunction, but for right now, this is going to be the previous. To go to the previous step in the sequence, this is going to go to the next step in the sequence. And you can just click between them. Over here you have your resonance knob, which controls the resonance of all the filters. You have slew, which controls how fast it changes between the next step of the sequence. So you'll see right now it's all the way down. It just changes drastically. We'll do some audio demos here. If I turn this up and I go to the previous, it slowly changes to the next step. This is a position knob, which basically does what these functions do with the buttons. So you can switch between them. That is linked to a CV source for position, and you can control it. It's bipolar, negative or positive. Here we have frequency, and without anything plugged in, it controls the global frequency. So you notice if I push this forward, it moves everything over, and now I can't actually push these frequencies past this center line. They can only go forward. And if I bring it down and I try to pull those frequencies up, it's gonna stop right there in the middle and not let me go anymore. Where if it's in the middle, you have control on both sides. Other than that, you do have CV for your slew knob and the resonance. You also have a clock input, which controls the sequencer for the modulation, and it can be used as MIDI, and you can send multiple MIDI messages to control different parameters with MIDI CC. This red button in the middle allows you to store presets, recall presets. It does quite a bit of different things, and I'll go over some of the functionality, but that is the general overview and outline of the module itself. Now let's plug in a mono input, and we're gonna go out stereo left 1 and 2. We have our cables connected. I'm just gonna hit play on this simple sequence, and then I'm gonna adjust some of these frequency knobs so you can see how it is actually affecting the sound. Turn up the resonance. Switch between them. Fast, slow. Really slow, slew. Let's make it a little faster. Using the position knob. So that gives you an idea of how these filters interact with one another and how these knobs all function. Let's start with the first feature, which allows you to change through different variable bandpass filters or all pass. And to do that, you're gonna hold this button for just a second and then turn this first knob. And it gives you a great visual guidance of what you're actually doing. So you have multiple different filters. Let's hit play and switch between them. So you can see you really get some cool results that are very stereo spread and very wide and panned. And that's just with me flipping through these different filters. So let's go back to a variable filter for now and talk about some of these settings. So one feature you can do is you can push down on this first knob and it switches to the level of these filters. And now these 4 knobs control the actual level output of the filters. Let's hit play. So you have level control, you push it again and it takes you back to the frequency control. Now if you have this set to be stereo for your outputs, you can just go to the utility menu. It says out and we're running 1 and 2. If you're not running stereo, make sure you change this back to 1. But for this demo, I want it to be stereo, so 1 and 2. And if you triple click these buttons, it'll take you to a pan function where you can control the pan of these sounds. So let's hit play and I'll triple click. Here's our pan. One filter over there. Let's go back. So that's a really great way to take your mono signal and turn it into something stereo by adjusting the pan, and it's really easy to do. So having stereo outputs is a really nice feature. All right, going back into it here, let's talk about the actual sequencer. And to do this, I'm gonna run an output of PAMs into the clock, which will now control the sequencer. And let's start by just hitting play and see how it controls everything. So you can see right now it's ping-ponging back and forth, and there's some really cool settings here. If you don't have a clock divider, you can actually hold this button and change this second knob, and now you can divide the sequence clock however you want. And it's very visual and tells you where you're at. Let's put it on 2 here. Now look how fast it is. Go slow. So that's one cool thing you can do with the clock divider. The next one, if you keep holding this button and go to the third knob, you can actually control how far the sequence goes by utilizing this little arrow. It tells you how far it is. So if we stop it right here and hit play, see it only goes through those first few steps of the sequence. Let's open that all the way back up. And the last knob allows you to control the direction of the sequence. And you have a couple different options here. Let's start with forward. See, it goes to the end and comes back. Backwards. Ping pong. And the question mark of random. So that is your sequencer, and it allows you to control what's happening with the sequencer by running a clock into it. You could also put this into the position instead of random waveform. That would be a cool way to control it, and you can decide which direction it's going here using this bipolar knob. I think one important thing to note here is you see this flashing light. The reason you're seeing this light is because that filter is frozen, and to freeze a filter you actually just push and hold on a knob, and you can do this on any of them. And when you're doing this, what it does is you can still adjust this filter, but it prevents modulation from happening on this filter through the sequence. So if I hit play, see it's not moving. I can unfreeze it. So this is cool because it gives you the ability to lock in specific filters and make other ones move with the modulation source. So again, to unfreeze them, you just push and hold, and it unfreezes them. Let's now talk about the red button here and what it does. So if you push and hold this red button and turn knob 1, you can see it says L1, L2, L3, and this is for loading user patches that you've saved in here. So you can actually go and save them. And to save them, you just hold down the red button and you can save them with 1 or 2. And then to save, you just push into the knob and it will save it and you can recall it with 1. The other thing you can do is by holding this button, you can change knob 4 and it's switched between different presets that are embedded. The first 13 are vocal formants, and the next ones, if you keep going past 13, you're going to get into some chord-defined presets. And you can look in the manual, it shows minor, major, diminished, things like that. You can see what those sound like. Change to the Karpplus Plus. Go to the chords. So one cool thing you can do is actually run a 1 volt per octave into the frequency. So if you have something that you want to stay in tune with the delay feedback happening from the Karpplus-Plus, you can run a clock into that. Other than that, there's a lot of utility functions and other things you can do with it. So now I'm just gonna run some different sounds through it and see what it can do. Okay, for this demo, I am running DFAM as my kick drum into dice. I have a snare coming from brains, also controlled by dice, and a hi-hat with just some random noise. And I'm just running everything into a mixer and then into the mono input here. And let's hit play. We run out of dice into the frequency. Slow slew. All pass. Listen to that panning. Keep it on one side. Running the Korg NTS1. This is my Eurorack conversion kit. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But we are running an ARP out of here with some effects on it into the Night Rider, and it's being clocked by PAMS Pro. So let's hit play. We're using Karpplus-Strong. Add some reverb. All right, that is the Night Rider from RYK Modular. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and you learned something from it. It's a super cool module to check out, so I definitely recommend maybe throwing it in your rack. If you have any questions, hit me in the comments, hit me with a like or sub for the algorithm. Stay tuned for more content coming out soon. We out of here.